I wish I still had a small allowance.
No,
I feel like whatever I get paid at my day job is kind of like an allowance, but I want to talk about getting an increase. I'm not really I can't do any more, but I want to
Imagine you go to your wife and say, I just folded 3 loads of laundry. Where's my allowance?
Yeah, where's my allowance? Quick, give it to me before recess.
Yeah.
Welcome to Bad Parents, a podcast about 3 bad parents who are trying to raise good kids. She's Shawna.
Hello.
He's Ryan.
What's up?
And I'm Johnny. A Tell It Like It Is podcast for parents to laugh, cry, and to make you feel better about your parenting. Welcome to the Bad Parents podcast. They say no matter where you go, always watch what you do because somebody's always watching. Well, guess what? Somebody's always listening if you hit up podcasts. And if you're a celebrity on a podcast saying some stuff, we're going to talk about it all this week on the Bad Parents podcast. Welcome to the Bad Parents podcast. They say that most of the time that honesty is the best policy. And sometimes we get carried away when we talk to our buddies and kind of say some things. And I know that we can have a real funny look at parenting and the way that things are done. I'm going to read you a quote. You tell me like right off the bat what you think as soon as you hear the quote, okay? Okay. And I quote, "The first 8 months, I don't even know if I really love the kid," he recalled, feeling. "It's dope. It's cool. I'm watching this thing morph. That's my experience," the actor continued. "Fascinated by it. Love taking care of it. But would I die if someone came in with a gun?" End of quote.
Wow. It seems wrong.
It seems wrong, right?
Yes.
This actor didn't feel connected to his daughter, Leia, at first. Says it took him 8 months to really love her.
Really? That's interesting.
Seems like a long time.
I mean,
it does.
He's being very honest.
But yeah.
But this is actor Bradley Cooper, who was on Dak Shepard's podcast, Armchair Expert. And I wonder if it's just like 2 buddies being like super buddy. Like, I'm just going to tell this kind of wacky kind of story for, whatever. But everybody was kind of talking about it. I just want to get your reaction about it because we had midwives and I was very lucky to be in the room for both times my kids were born. And both times I broke down in tears. I thought maybe the second time I wouldn't because I'd already experienced the rush of the first one and the second experience. And it was like an immediate connection,
Okay.
And I sometimes have read just in the books of the classes before it happened that sometimes that can happen, not just to dads, but also to moms.
Right.
Where that instant connection isn't felt. And it's actually kind of normal.
That's the one that he goes a little hard there.
Yes.
But what I like about it is someone's having that conversation and being honest, because for some people, I know for my firstborn, it was an emergency C-section after about 30 hours of labor.
Wow.
It was very, very awful in terms of the experience, to the point where they gave me the baby. That's the closest I've ever felt to probably dying. And I remember thinking, nothing except for somebody take this baby because I'm so exhausted. And I didn't have that feeling. And for a long time, I felt very badly that I didn't have that immediate bond. But obviously, I understand why. So in some regards, I appreciate that he's saying that.
I would think if there's ever a time where people feel that way about their kid is maybe in the beginning because there's really not a lot going on. And maybe other things factor in like lack of sleep and it's also new and all that kind of stuff. I don't really get it personally. Yeah. Like I appreciate his honesty, but I felt instant love for all 3. In fact, I remember loving my first so much that when my second was born, I thought, I don't think I'll ever love anyone as much as I loved my first.
Right.
And I've mentioned it to people who had more than one kid. And they all said the same thing. They go, don't worry about it, right? Because I had guilt that I wasn't going to love my second.
I've heard that too.
Right. And as soon as he came out, I was floored.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? There's no limit to love.
Yeah.
Right? You can have 10 children and love them all equally. He looks so much different than the first, so I was more taken aback by that.
Yeah.
But in terms of my feelings for him, and then my third, it was just, I don't know if I cried necessarily, but that doesn't mean you don't love them. I will say, I think there are different phases of a child being born up until whatever age they are that you might prefer certain ages.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Certain activities.
Yeah. Like I wasn't a huge of the babies. Like I love them and I was there for them and I changed them and all that kind of stuff. But I really love, for me personally, like a 9 to like 13 is just such a great window.
Yeah.
It's my favorite so far. I don't know what you guys do. You like yours are so young. It's hard to.
I'm liking now. I'm liking the older. The older, the better. Like my kid just turned 16. The car conversations, the humor, the dark sense of humor, the sarcasm. I'm loving this.
Yeah, you know what I do love as they get older, and mine are 15, 13, and 9 is like the entertainment stuff, the shows we're watching and stuff. Like we're watching adult stuff, not adult, but adult stuff. And and we just got a pool table. And so especially my older two, we're playing and I'm just like, I get how you become friends with your kids.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And I do like that stuff. Like I do like chatting about things that are going on or playing pool or joking around.
And they
with
have
them.
a whole other perspective that's not your own. Like they're their own person, and watching that develop is pretty cool.
Yeah, and to your point, my kids are like 5 and 3, and I am their world at the moment, and I kind of like that. I've always said that I might be a bit on the needy scale, and so for them to want to play with me and get their love solely from me and those sort of things, I really enjoy that part of the adventure now as a dad.
Yeah.
Where I get to, be their number one.
Yes.
And that doesn't last forever.
No.
And I enjoy that because I had children a little bit later in life. I really enjoyed the solo Johnny time. I really like that. And I never thought I would be as happy to see my children be as happy as they are when they do things or experience things or see things or get something they really want, and to see their joy make me happy. I never thought would exist. I was so all about me.
Well, you had so many years of being just about you, right?
Oh,
Like you were married young and started having your children fairly young, right?
Yeah.
I was in my early 30s, so I had a window there of some fun and stuff, but you had like an extra decade that more of them people don't have, right?
Because I can't do the math, but Olivia's 5 and I'm 49. So obviously in my early 40s, it's, I'm not Al Pacino or, but I do feel like that sometimes, but I could see definitely with Sarah at the beginning with the first one. Sarah had a little bit of postpartum.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm telling stories out of school. I don't think I'm embarrassing her in any way. And if I am, I apologize. And I don't think it was anything lack of love, but there was some real sort of hormonal, I don't know what to do. This isn't you right now.
It's terrifying.
And so for anybody who has experienced it to a real nth degree, that had to have been scary.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is about this Bradley Cooper is it helps me understand my husband a little more, because over the years we joke about there's a picture of him holding I have one with him and then one with my ex-husband. So it's his only son. Mm-hmm. And there's a picture of him holding his only son right after birth. And his face is like very not like, there's no tears. There's not a lot of emotion. And he said, really, he didn't feel those things. He's honest too. He's like, I didn't really feel that thing that some dads have, like the tears or the overwhelming thing. And his brother's wife is pregnant now. And his brother is very different than him. And he's asking Mike these questions. He's like, I really took me a while to feel it. And I like that we can have those conversations. This is what this podcast is all about, is being honest, because parenting is such a variety of emotions and experiences, and everybody's different. And it's okay to not have that overwhelming emotional thing when you see your baby.
Well, and I don't want to speak for your husband or speak for Bradley Cooper or whatever, but I think for guys, just generally speaking, guys, especially if you have a son or something like that. I mean, I shouldn't say son, but you just like to play with them and throw the ball around and all that kind of stuff. And when they're 8 months old, they can't really do anything. Yeah. So it's more of just like literally keeping them alive. And you're not really having the fun part of it.
Exactly. That's true too.
And I think that's where maybe for certain people, that's what they want.
Yeah.
Right?
And maybe with Bradley, because I noticed with my child, my wife literally fed them. Like she was their everything, the comfort, the food, like a huge source. Like they didn't even know that I was around probably for the first 6 months.
Right.
So I can see how that attachment where you're like, I kind of want a little snuggle time, but they just want the mom or whoever.
Yeah.
And it could flip. Maybe they just want whatever it is. It's such a wacky time.
It is.
The first year of life is so heavy and emotional and crazy. Yeah. And so, I kind of see it. And I know he kind of got like dumped on. He used some pretty intense language.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, you're Bradley Cooper. You're an extremely successful actor and producer, director. Like maybe if some guy came in, maybe you're like, hey, I really like my life right now. Like, I'm doing all right. Like I don't want to, it's like I kind of get it.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do? On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are either of you being naked at home in front of family members?
Which family members? Nana?
Let's just,
if that's the case, very.
Let's just say in general, just say your immediate familial. Your partner and children.
No, and it's just because I don't like being nude anyways. So like I get out of the shower, I can't put my boxers on fast enough.
I used to before they were probably too old, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay.
I used to do baths with my son for a long time to the point where people were like, that's wrong. And I used to walk around, no problem. But, once they were in school and had homework, it's like not a... I like nudity. I could understand these European families, right? That just, why hide it?
So I'm probably like a 2 on the scale. I've said before that my optimal sleeping position and habit would just be like naked on my back. Since I have had kids, and now that Olivia's a little bit older, I now have to wear something to bed.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's appropriate now to do so. So she's really impacted my life that way.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But sticking on the Bradley Cooper train, again on the Dax Shepard podcast, just talking about nudity, Bradley Cooper revealed that he is, quote, totally comfortable walking around his house in his birthday suit since his late father always did the same thing while he was growing up. Now, I've walked in a couple times on Rick Garbutt being naked.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's happened. Yeah, I couldn't find him when I was a kid, and he was like in the bath, and I'd just be like, and it was so, it's just
It
so
sounds like you're still struggling with it.
messed up. I didn't like it.
But you didn't like it.
I didn't like it. I didn't like seeing my father naked. But Bradley Cooper says that like not only did his dad walk around like always naked to the point where he has extremely vivid recollections of his dad doing it, but that he also took showers with him.
What?
Now, I'm not saying anything, and no essay. Like I'm not saying anything, but I have bathed with my kids.
Oh yeah.
I don't do it with Olivia anymore.
Right.
And I've never done it with Jack because, it's hard with a guy with a back getting in and out of the tub. But anyway, but I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it. Is there an age cutoff? I also don't want to be like, people say I breastfed until they were 12.
Right.
I don't want to judge you if that's something you do. Rye had a thing about kissing his kids on the lips, and there was a thing online about how it was like weird, and Rye's like, why is it weird?
Yeah.
I think it's weird if you think it's weird.
Yeah.
Right?
The Tom Brady thing.
We all have this sort of ability to kind of like judge on our own. And I don't think anybody's sort of like rules of whatever it is. Like I could only imagine now that, for example, your oldest Rye isn't walking around naked, where maybe your youngest still might drop trow every now and then.
That's right.
Or maybe just comedic purposes.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. My older 2 are a little more private now because they're 13 and 15, of course.
Yeah.
And the 9-year-old, he'll walk around still naked and stuff like that. And it just kind of, I don't know. To me, it's one of those things that just figures its life out.
I found Mike and Eli would shower together for a while because we were trying to get him from the bath to the shower, and he was nervous. So they would do it. It's when Eli would talk about certain body parts in public.
Right.
Hey, have you seen my dad's?
Yeah.
Then we're like, okay, this might need to stop.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You do feel it out as a family. Sorry for the pun.
Yep.
But you figure out what works for you, and you just know.
Yeah.
And I don't like people putting their rules on other families. Like if Bradley Cooper grew up like that and he was comfortable, his dad was comfortable, I don't know why we have to judge everybody.
Yeah, I don't. As long as no one's getting hurt, what do you care,
Yeah.
right? And I just think generally speaking, these things work themselves out, and you just naturally I can't remember there wasn't an age; it just happens, right?
And we have to take into account culture. European cultures is very different. You go abroad and you go to a topless beach or a clothing optional beach. It's very different there. And then the North Americans are very uncomfortable in general with that. So you have to look at that.
Is that why maybe Bradley Cooper's comments about being naked have kind of taken on a life of its own?
Yes.
Because we're so like whatever. And if you see like a boob on TV during prime time, you're like, oh my God, a nipple.
Totally.
And we're so sort of all about it.
Oh, we're definitely. Listen, I've spent some time in England and just used the newspapers there, right? The trashy newspapers. They're not
Like the page 3
page
lady.
3s and Sunday Sport and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, they're not hidden, or at least when I was there, this is the 90s, so I spent a lot of time there. They're just there, and like nobody even thinks about it, right?
No.
Like women don't, generally speaking, no one really was mad about it. And so they are definitely way more liberal when it comes to that stuff.
Do you think that there's a difference between above the belt nudity and below the belt nudity?
I think generally speaking, like when you watch movies even, right? Like boobs are just boobs, and then you see butts. You don't see a lot of
butts.
You don't see a lot of the male and female no-no squares.
Right.
Right. In fact, my wife and I just watched a show and they had male nudities. The guy was a prisoner. And so he had to like drop trow and they showed like just a little bit of it. And it's weird.
It is jarring.
Yeah.
Would you not say? You're just taken aback because it is sort of the last frontier.
Just say like the Bradley Cooper, like in The Hangover, when, the Asian guy was in the back, right?
Yeah.
Ken Jeong.
Yeah.
And he came out and like he
Full on.
It was small.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the thing. And it was jarring to see because I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'd also say you don't really see females down there either. That would be surprising to see.
That's true too.
You know what I mean? Like unless some of these artsy kind of shows or whatever, maybe.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I think boobs and butts are just kind of not a big deal anymore.
And you called it the no-no square. Is it weird that I call mine the no-no rhombus?
Oh,
Yeah, it's different than most.
You're built different.
Thank you. So after this conversation, are you more or less inclined to get naked when you get home
I feel more
in front
now.
of your parents?
I think this conversation said, why are we so prudish?
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to put on my boxers, my pair of pants, and then another pair of boxers over top of my pants.
So you're more prudish.
Yes. Extra prude.
Extra prude. Taking out the trash, making your bed, maybe doing the laundry, shoveling the driveway, cutting the grass, seasonal chores. All, when I was a kid, would get you an allowance. Not very much, but enough to go down to the corner store, get myself a Tiger Beat.
Oh, yeah.
And a little Hostess chips, and Johnny was having a good day. Did either of you have allowances growing up?
My allowance was very similar to, in the news right now, Larissa Pippen, Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, said that she gives her daughter a $2,500 monthly allowance.
What?
So that's what I got for mowing the lawn. Not even close.
God.
Yeah, I just like you said, did little chores and that kind of stuff just to kind of, same thing, get some snacks, maybe, save some money for a ghetto blaster. But I don't know. Did you do chores?
Not a consistent thing. Every once in a while, my mom would get, she was a stay-home mom for a lot of years, so she would do a lot of that stuff, but sometimes she would call it like a pay chore. She's like, I paid chores this weekend, but it wasn't like a consistent, like, this is what your chore is and you get a monthly amount. And no, it was nothing like that. It was sort of whenever she needed extra hands. But those basics we had to do. We still had to clean our room and make our bed, but it was not a pay chore.
Was there any sort of, you hear people, it's like, you will get $20 a week and you have to do X, Y, and Z. And there's a chart. If you don't do it, then you get like $5 taken off and it kind of goes like that.
I would love to do that. We've never been able to stick to it at home.
Okay, which brings me to my next question, which is, your children seem to be old enough in order to get allowances. Mm-hmm. Now, as a parent, you can say, well, I pay for high level hockey, Ryan. I pay for high level baseball and baseball, whatever. Do you really need like money on top of that? Maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But do your kids have an allowance, a like pocket money allowance?
Exactly what Shawna was saying. In theory, yes, but don't stick to it.
And they're overpaid. My husband overpays the kids. It's ridiculous because he gets frustrated. And it's like, here, do this, and I'll give you $20.
Yeah.
$20. I'm like, Mike, it shouldn't be like that. It should be either consistent and that's their tasks. And then we come up with a more economical plan. But like to just throw them $20 because they took out the trash because, we threw your back out or whatever. I just don't think that's right either. I don't know. We don't have a consistent approach.
I think that's the way to tackle it. I don't either, but I think the way to tackle it is like, here's physically a list of your chores. And like you said, Johnny, if you do them every Friday or whatever, you get the $20 or whatever. And if you don't, you don't. And they finally will understand consequence, right? Okay, you don't want to do it. And I ended up taking out the trash. That's fine. But you're not going to get your money at the end of it. We have dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
And I think it's doing them a disservice because
totally
it just now kind of turns into, they help it once in a while if I ask, and then we just buy them whatever they want if we have the money. And I'm not saying it's a lot, but it's like, can I get $5 for this game or whatever?
I'm not strict at all.
I wish I was more strict.
Do you ever do the classic, your kids' toys are a lot more expensive than my kids' toys, right? So my kids' toys, like they want like a Gabby Dollhouse doll. Right. So it's like $20.
Yeah.
Where it's like you guys are like in PS5
No,
territory.
I do it. It's Friday night. Mommy's tired. Mommy doesn't want to fight with you.
Yes.
Mommy buys the Madden game for $69.99.
What I'm saying is, have you ever do the, if you can supply half, I'll pay the other half?
Yeah, I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that seem to work?
Yeah,
Does that teach lesson?
yeah, it does. It's a little better than just paying for it.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
And then they'll use it more. Like if
Yeah.
you just download the game, but I'm hoping that when they put some cash up, but I have to tell you, it makes me sick taking their money. Their little wallets open and their little money that they got from grandma and grandpa. And I know it's right. But inside I'm dying and I just don't want to take their money. So it's I'm the problem.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the problem too.
Why don't you do what amazing parents do that I've read online, where they will split a gift or charge rent, but then all put it into an account. So when they hit 18 years old, you give it all back
My
plus interest.
mother-in-law
You're
did
like,
that.
you're the greatest.
My mother-in-law did that.
Why are my parents not on that train? Why did they not do that? Why did my grandfather not buy land?
I
know.
You had so much opportunity to buy land.
I couldn't believe it. When I met my husband, he was getting out on his own. He was older. He was like in the late 20s, but he paid rent his whole life. And his mom had put it aside for him
like winning
to
the
put
lottery.
money towards a house. Like, it's so smart. It's so responsible. Discipline or what to do that.
So
Like
he had no clue?
No. No, and it was such a gift, and it wasn't a ton of money. He wasn't paying a lot of rent. It was just the principle of it, and I have such respect for the fact that I sometimes take money for pizza from my kids' piggy bank because I don't have cash, and here she is probably building up this nest egg. How'd you not go to Cuba with it?
You know what's crazy? You made me feel terrible. I took $25 off my eldest son to pay for something for my younger son.
Oh, I've done that.
And I still owe him. It's $25. I just say, Trav, if you're listening, I haven't forgotten. I still owe you $25.
That's like the biggest karma depleter for me. I feel like taking money out of my kid's piggy bank. I'm like, I have, out of everything that I've done wrong in my life, I need to repay this money back.
Yeah.
I feel like the karma police will come and get you. I've seen this new thing online where it's like an app. Because a lot of things like kids, especially your age, 16, 15, do a lot of online purchasing, whether it be video games or they want to get concerts, whatever. Seems like a lot of commerce is happening online. So it's a allowance app where you put money into there and then they can spend it how they wish
I
online.
like that.
I feel like that's that's the next step. It seems very 2024 to me.
I love that
Yeah,
because then then it's like, because a lot of the times when I want to pay them for their chores, I just don't have the cash. That's brilliant. And then it would teach them responsibility, and then they can't buy it unless they have that. I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
And to be honest with you, the kids have a bank account. It's harder than you think to get in and out of that banking account. Like, they have to be a certain age to do it themselves, and then you forget the pins
It's a
and all that
really
kind of
long
stuff.
appointment to set it up too.
And it's just harder than you think it is.
Yes.
And that's like almost like, and you can't, here's the other thing. We couldn't even like put money into an account for them like online, like e-transfer. Like, everything is like, you got to put their name as like you're paying a bill, and you're like, it's one of those things when you're like, I can't believe how complicated you're making this. So having an app and just putting money into it and they're able to access it however it works sounds awesome.
Because like, how awesome it would be if, like, say somebody's kid was on a date and like then they had this like digital wallet that they probably didn't have any other way, where they could like, kind of be a bit of a big shot and like pay for things and tap away. And I think it builds a great self-esteem. Like,
I like that very much.
That's good. I wish I still had a small allowance. I feel like whatever I get paid at my day job is kind of like an allowance, but I want to talk about getting an increase. I'm not really I can't do any more, but I want to be
Imagine
paid
you
more.
go to your wife and say, I just folded 3 loads of laundry. Where's my allowance?
Yeah, where's my allowance? Quick, give it to me before recess.
Yeah.
If you get an allowance or want to allow us to help you with anything parental wise, or you have any questions, it's badparents@curiouscast.ca, and we'd be more than happy to do like a mailbag show or address any concerns or questions in which you have. Her name is
Shawna.
His name is
Ryan.
My name is John, and we will be back next week.